Wow, I mean, tell us, what effects have you seen so far?
It was pretty remarkable. We didn't really know what to expect when we started. The 5.1 year age reversal for epigenetics was interesting. And then slowing the speed of aging by 25% was something that we found really exciting. It's probably exceeded our expectations.
When we say stringent, 1,977 vegan calories a day, 24 supplements and medicines, exercise an hour a day, plus high intensity 3 times a week, sleep at the same time every night after 2 hours of wearing glasses and block blue light. I don't think I particularly want 33,000 images of my bowels, but you were doing this for another reason, a purpose. Where does this go in terms of next stage therapies?
The idea behind the project was if you could measure all 70 plus organs of your body and enable each organ to speak, your heart and lungs and liver and pancreas, and express what they need to be in an ideal state, and then take those needs, look at gold standard scientific evidence, and then create a protocol. And I've agreed to go through that process. And so we make hundreds of measurements of my body every few months, and we just reference the scientific literature, and we do this again and again, and we try to fine tune it. And so we're trying to basically create the perfect diet and health protocol. And so I've spent millions of dollars developing this with a world-class group of scientists and doctors, and I've made it all available for others at no cost, that people can implement it, improve upon it, they can record their own data. It's really meant to push the entire field forward.
Well, Bryan, that's the point I'm fascinated by, the reaction. We've been showing your morning routine on the screen, your exercise, your calorie target. To be fair, it's not that much different than mine, and yet I'm definitely aging quickly. But do you sympathize with the reaction to this story that actually for most everyday people, this is not a reality, this is not an accessible method of reversing the effects of aging?
I absolutely do. And I mean, it really started when I was in a pretty bad situation. I'd had chronic depression for a decade. I tried everything to fix it, and I was feeling hopeless. And there was one particular version of myself, and I playfully referred to him as Evening Bryan. 7 p.m. Bryan would roll around, and the day's stress would be very heavy, and he would inevitably eat too much food or the wrong food, and then that would cause poor sleep, and it would cause the next morning feeling groggy, and I'd be overweight. And so one day, playfully, I said, Evening Bryan is fired. From 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., this version of myself has no authority to decide if he's going to eat. And it was the first time I really understood me as different versions of myself. And so while I do understand that the protocol I have now is pretty daunting for most people, the basic principle I think is true for everybody. We all have these versions inside of us where we commit this self-destructive behavior, and we do so again and again. And oftentimes, some of the biggest gains can be made if we just stop some of those more self-destructive behaviors.
Bryan, we asked our audience what they were willing to do to achieve longevity, I suppose, if you're not thinking about aging in reverse. And this is what they had to say. Pretty split, a third of respondents, all my money into... Don't you laugh? And then, 36% nothing, YOLO. I think Ashley, again, touches on this in the story about how doctors praised you for what you've done, but actually for the everyday person, it's not achievable. What of all the things that you did are the simplest that you felt this is an easy change that has really helped me?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the expectation of Blueprint is not that the individual person is going to be able to do all these things. The objective is to show that if this protocol is implemented, you can achieve remarkable results in slowing the rate of aging and reversing aging. And then if that's the case, it really is a contemplation I find interesting is, could we do this as a society, make this standard where we don't ask people to go out and navigate McDonald's and algorithms that are trying to addict them in everywhere they turn. And so this is really about trying to create change, a change in society. But for the basic, simple things people can do, prioritize sleep, eat more vegetables, nuts, and berries, and stop self-destructive behaviors, and you're off to a pretty good start.
Bryan, can I ask you a personal question about the reaction to this story? Because it did go viral. And there's a lot, in that way, there's a split view. Some are really engaging you and saying this is great and something to be admired, and others, maybe through their own inhibitions and issues, are hating on it. How are you finding the reaction online?
It's understandable. I mean, I think all of us have the same dialogue that is happening online is the same dialogue that happens inside of each one of us. It's the same thing. I mean, we're all very critical of ourselves. We're making observations about our behaviors all the time. We are our own worst critic. And so I see when people are talking, this is just what I think I call it group therapy, we're having a dialogue about the difficulty of living in modern society with everything around us trying to addict us all the time. It's very, very hard to maintain a healthy lifestyle. You have to really go out of your way. And so I think the commentary is really about larger society than it is about me.